Welcome to the St. Johns County Public Library. I'm Carla Day. I am the young adult librarian at the Bartram Trail branch. Today I'm going to be joined by my co-worker, Lisa Kay. She is an expert card maker, and I'm so glad that she was here because I've never made a card before, and having her expertise and her here to answer my questions as I was learning something new was wonderful. And she'll join us in a few moments. She's not here right now because of the social distancing, but you'll see her soon. Okay, today we are making a greeting card. It's going to look like this. Let me show you what the inside is going to look like. So that is what we are making today. We're also going to decorate our envelope, and we'll go into that in a little bit as well. And we do ask that you return your greeting cards to the library by October the 7th if you want them to go to a nursing facility. If you have someone that you know and love that you would like to give your card to, that's perfectly fine too. You do not have to bring it back to the library, but if you do want to, please return it by October the 7th. So let's go ahead and get started with our cards. So if you picked up a kit at the library, what you should have is an envelope, a blank card, a piece of paper. This is 6.5 by 3 inches wide. 4 flowers like this, and 4 buttons. And we chose yellow buttons, but you can choose whatever color you like if you're using your own materials at home. Okay, so let's set that aside. So the first thing that you would do would be to stamp your card, but right now we're going to get our materials ready. So this is a simple cutter that I picked up, and I will show you how I cut out the paper, and you could do this with a ruler if you didn't have this at home. So the first thing that I did was I opened this up and I cut with my paper. I cut it to 6.5 inches, and then I turned it around and I cut that strip into the 3 inches, which is what is in your kit. So that is how you would cut the paper. So, okay. So we did our flowers on the Cricut, but you could draw your own flowers and cut those out, or you could take like a punch like this. And let me get a scrap piece of paper here. And you would punch this out. So you could also make little circles and write a message on the circles on the outside of your card. And so that would work. And let's see. Okay, so let's get started with the pieces of the card that you have. Now that I've shown you how to cut out the paper. So the first step is that you would take your glue stick and you would take your glue stick and go around the outside, and it doesn't matter which side you put up and which side. And so I'm going to go all around my edges, making sure that I'm right on the edge. Then I'm going to put some more of my glue stick down in the middle. And then I'm going to line that up on the edge of my card. So I'm going to kind of lift that up, and I want to make sure that I go to the very edge of my card. Now we're doing it this way, the longer side down. So we're doing it that way. And the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take the other side of my so that I'll have a contrast on my flowers. I'm going to turn to the other side of the paper, and I'm going to line those up on my card. So that's where I like them. So I'm just going to leave them laying there. I'm going to take that glue stick and glue on the other side. And I'm doing this very quickly. You can do this a little more carefully when you're at home. So turn that back over, turn this one over, and put some glue on that one. Okay, that's lined up. Okay, now you will need your glue gun. So using my glue gun, I am going to put a little bit of glue. Be very careful because the hot glue will go through the center of the buttons. So try to hold your button around the edge instead of in the center so that you don't burn yourself with the glue. So kind of hold it by the edge and go around. But keep holding that button by the edge and then put it down on the center of your flower. And do that again. I found that out the hard way. So here we go. All right. So this is what your card looks like. Now the inside of it is going to look like this, and Lisa's going to show you how to do that in a moment. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how to decorate the flap of your envelope. So we're going to take that flower that we have left over, and let's see, I used the purple. I think I'm going to use the other side on the outside of my envelope. And so it doesn't matter, you use the side of the paper up that you like best. So I'm going to put some glue stick on that, and I'm going to center that on the flap of my envelope. And then I'm going to, again, now, one thing to keep in mind is that if you are going to put this in the mail and mail it to someone, do not do this on the outside of your envelope. It would be okay to glue your flower perhaps, but putting a button on it's not going to go through the postal system very well. That could turn out very poorly. So don't do that. So this would be a completed card, except for the stamping. And so right now I am going to step aside and let Lisa Kay come over and show you how to properly use a stamp.
Hi everyone, my name is Lisa Kay and I work with Carla. I have the privilege of working with her, and we both work at the Bartram Trail Library, and I am going to show you a couple of stamping tricks. You may already know them, you may not, but it's a great way to be able to know how the inside of the card that Carla was showing you was made. So the first thing you're going to do is when you go ahead and stamp, you're going to make sure that your surface, whether it's a table or whether it's a book or whatever it is that you're putting your card on, is clean. You're also going to make sure that your hands are clean. And the reason you're going to do that is because a clean hand and a clean surface makes for a cleaner, neater card. However, if, during the process you get something on you and it's not always clean, that happens too, and that is okay. So, okay. Now, I wanted to let you see that this is the stamp I am going to use. Now, when you go to purchase a stamp or stamp ink, which I am going to go ahead and use for the stamp, make sure that you are buying the best that you can afford. It doesn't have to be the most expensive, but whatever you can afford in your budget, because you really want a good stamp, but you also want good ink for it as well. Okay. So, when you go to stamp, this is the image. This is the side that we're going to stamp on. You want to make sure that your stamp is clean. Now, it may not look totally 100% clean, but that's okay. But I know that it's been cleaned, because if I didn't clean it and I went to go ahead and try and stamp and there was another color on here, that color might be picked up as well, and you don't want that. So here's the first thing we're going to do. Okay. Now, there are different ways to do this, but as long as you have the same outcome, you can do it whichever way works best for you. Now when you go to stamp, I know people who like to go like this and directly do it that way. You can also do it this way, particularly if you are doing something with multiple colors and you just want to get a certain spot in one color. You might want to just go to the spot that's on there. So I'm going to go ahead and ink the stamp. And you want to make sure that you get a good enough amount of ink on here. Okay, let me just, I'm going to go ahead and just give it a little bit more. Okay, so there we go. I went ahead and I inked it. Now, what you're gonna do, and you can even do this before you ink it as well, is go ahead and figure out where you want to put this on the card, meaning the placement of it. So I know that I want it in the middle, and I'm gonna go ahead and do the best that I can to judge to see where. Now I'm gonna go down, and I'm gonna apply pressure. And you want to apply pressure to the whole entire stamp because you want to make sure that you get all the images of the stamp covered as much as possible. Okay, so now I'm going to lift it up carefully. And that's what the stamp image looks like. Okay, now I will let you know a couple of things, that when you do go ahead and stamp, that there might be times when you might stamp and it might look a little like this, where it's stamped but not all of it's showing up really well. And it may be because you didn't apply enough pressure, and that is okay, because you can always go and take a marker, like this is black, so you can take a black marker and outline the whole thing and fill it in. There might come times too when you go and stamp and your image might be a little distorted, and that's okay too, because sometimes when you go and you take the stamp, for instance like this, and you're going like and applying pressure, if the paper moves or you move the stamp just a little, it might show that it's just a little smudged, and that can be fixed as well. If nothing else, you are more than welcome to always, if you need to restamp the image. Okay, so now that we've done that, I'm gonna go ahead and put this away, and I'm gonna show you something else. So, how to care for your stamp. Okay, so once you're done stamping, what you're gonna do is you're gonna go ahead and clean it. And it does not have to be 100% clean, but you wanna clean it enough so that when you go to move on to another color, that if what we stamped was purple, and if you go to use yellow and you didn't clean this somewhat, and you go to stamp, it might turn brown, because yellow and purple make black or brown, depending upon how far you go into the shades. Okay, so you have two options for doing this. Here is the first one. This is a stamp cleaner. This happens to be a roll-on stamp cleaner, but there are other cleaners available. And it depends on what you prefer. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and stamp this. Just put a little on here, roll it over. And then you're going to take your paper towel and you're going to go ahead and you're going to clean it. Now granted, it may not look very messy, but you can see some of it coming off. Okay, now the other option, which I don't have right here, is you can take the paper towel and you can wet the paper towel and rub it. Now when you go to wet the paper towel and you go to rub it onto the stamp, just don't press too hard, because the paper towel can shred. But you do want to just clean it lightly. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just enough so that some of the color that you had just used came off. Okay. So, I've been stamping for a while, and I have enjoyed being able to do this, and I hope that you will enjoy it too. And I will now send the rest of this over back to Carla so that you can finish the card.
Thank you for joining us today, and thank you, Lisa, for that wonderful program on stamping. I had no idea there was that much to using a stamp properly. So I learned a lot today, and thank you so much for that. So this is now our completed card that we have made today, along with our envelope. So again, if you want to bring it back to the library by October the 7th, to send to the nursing facility, that would be great. You may want to just sign your first name. You could also add a little bit to the message there, or not. Just signing your name is fine. You could talk to your parents about that. And remember that you can always watch this program later on our Facebook page if you need to go back over it. And it's also on our YouTube page. If you do a search for SJC Library VID, so that's SJCLIBRARY vid on a Google search, that will also take you to our YouTube page if you would like to keep up with that. Or you can go to our regular SJCPLS website, and it will have a link to our YouTube page to watch all of our programs that we have done since the library started doing virtual programming. So again, thank you for coming and joining us today at the library, and thank you, Lisa, again for teaching us so much about stamping today.